Alright, so this is going to be my official build guide outline for my main kit in Dune Awakening. So it's important to note a couple things, and of course what you're seeing in front of you is displaying in all of the tier 6 versions. However, all weapons and gear shown can be attained from steel tier 3 and takes around 7 to 10 hours to reach. The only exception is the Ornithopter, which we'll talk about later, is unlocked at tier 4. It's also worth mentioning that all melee weapons are viable on any build and it's mainly a personal preference. The Karpov is excellent for ranged gunplay with a decent damage, precision, and is a decent all-rounder that can tackle most situations. While the Disruptor has less uses but has a very important use case nonetheless, its primary use is to melt shields due to its high RPM. The Scattergun, on the other hand, in my opinion, is the predecessor until you get something called the Drill Shot, which is both akin to a shotgun that is great for mid-game and also has a great use case on shielded enemies by applying a stagger when shot, allowing you to slow blade. So I use this a lot, especially in the past betas. If you watch my gameplay, I would always entry with a scattergun, causing a stagger, and then allowing you to get a free slow blade attack. It's going to be very strong, especially in mid-game, and even in PvP, if you know what you're doing, this is a great combo setup. And again, the Karpov, Disruptor, and Scattergun can all be obtained by Iron Tier 2. The next set of weapons are my key build weapons that define my playstyle, more specifically the Spit Dart, which acts like a sniper. It cannot penetrate shields, but it has a poisoning effect that can deal damage to shielded enemies. Stacking this with poison buffs from the Mentat tree, the Spit Dart sticks out as a fantastic option for sniping, which is obviously why I like it. Next up is the Drill Shot. This is one of the best weapons in Dune Awakening because not only can it penetrate shields over a second plus duration, it can also stagger while dealing a significant amount of damage in doing so. It offers great range as well, both for PvP and PvE. This is going to be your best friend for ranged engagements and even just engagements in general. It is probably going to be your jack of all trades. It's genuinely just a carry gun. If you don't have a Drill Shot, I don't know what you're doing. Last but not least, we have the Rapier, which is my favorite melee weapon in the game. However, it is personal preference. Depending on the melee playstyle, any melee weapon can work with any build until you get the Rapier. The sword is a great option as well. The Spit Dart, Drill Shot, and Rapier are all unlocked as Steel Tier 3 and Aluminum Tier 4, which will take you around maybe 10 hours, 10 to 14 hours to hit Tier 4. 10 to 7 hours to hit Tier 3 if you know what you're doing. Next up is utility. Power packs, shields, and suspensor belts are the most important thing in the game and should be prioritized each tier you progress. At the start of the game, until Tier 4, you'll have to decide between passive leap belt or passive suspensor belt. One prevents full damage entirely, being the passive suspensor, and the other allows you to gain air, which is the leap belt, which I recommend early game because the passives on my build from the weapon tree, the class trees, are going to be buffing our damage when we use a leap or a suspensor leap. So we'll get onto that later, but for now, that's just, yeah. I really recommend the leap belt anyways. It's just great mobility-wise. And at Tier 4, you, however, can research the full suspensor belt, which is a new kind of belt that combines both effects, which is really nice and allows you to have both the passive and the leap all in one. The last two essential pieces of kit is your Ornithopter and Leader John. You unlock your first Scout Ornithopter at Aluminum Tier 4, and once you reach Tier 5, you want to switch it for the Assault Ornithopter. The Assault Ornithopter is going to allow us to attach a rocket module for vehicle combat, especially in the deep desert. Last but not least is the Leader John, which will be very helpful for heavy armor and PvP. We will jump onto armor after this. The specific Leader John, however, you want is the Hajara Leader John. This is obtained at your first outpost vendor you visit in the Haga Basin South. It is largely considered the best Leader John in the game because it is the same weight as the standard Mark 1 Leader John, but carries an extra 500 mils of water. I don't know what that is in US metrics. And the only other Leader John in the game is obtained at Mark 5, but can carry 10,000 mils of water, or 10 liters, but it weighs a massive 25 compared to the Hajara's 2. Next up is armor. The armor I highly recommend heavy, especially for my playstyle and build. We're utilizing a lot of ranged weapons So we want to mitigate as much ranged dart damage as possible. And generally, you will get in the melee mix a decent amount, but also you're going to be at a ranged distance a lot as well. Heavy armor has the best dart damage mitigation while losing some melee damage mitigation. Following the tier progression structure of the game, again, you can get heavy armor from tier 2 on and swap it out each new tier you unlock. So you'd get tier 3 heavy armor, tier 4 heavy armor, tier 5 heavy armor, head out into the deep desert, so on. There's the general progression of the game. There's the general kit I'm going to have. And that covers all of the gear. So there's a lot of gear in this kit, as you can see. You have a lot of items to manage. You have a lot of items to earn, progress, level up, unlock, whatever. Next up is the abilities and the actual trees themselves. My kit uses a mix of all trees and abilities in the game, starting off with the Bene Gesserit for the Bindu Sprint. The Bindu Sprint allows us to close massive gaps, especially early on when we don't have a bike yet, so we can speedrun getting the Trooper Trainer very fast. Even just in general, second unlock is going to be the Gigabyte, which we'll get from the Trooper at the start of the game. You can get the Gigabyte and the Trooper Tree unlocked within basically 30 minutes if you know what you're doing, especially utilizing that Bindu Sprint, and is potentially one of the best movement and utility abilities in the game because, again, not only can we use the Gigabyte grapple hook for navigation, but also staggering enemies, which, again, if you've watched my past gameplay, would know that I love using the Gigabyte to stagger, and is, again, one of my favorite abilities in the game. Last up is the knee charge from the Swordmaster, which is unlocked much later in the game around the 10-hour mark. And again, if you want trainer locations, I do have a page and video for that as well, which will be probably around uploaded at the same time. And as you can probably tell, my build is very movement based. We're using a Gigabyte, a Bindu Sprint, and a knee charge, all movement abilities. The knee charge, of course, can be used mainly for engaging and providing a stagger, but the knee charge can also be used as a mobility ability to get away and disengage at the same time if you need it to, basically. So, as you can see, my build is mainly focused on engaging, escaping, and manipulating fights for both PvE and PvP, and being able to maneuver and rotate and reposition incredibly fast, which is super important to my playstyle and the way I play, where I'm sort of, I guess, hyper ADHD fucking zoomer playstyle, right? That is the core premise of my build. You're going to be running around everywhere, repositioning and just shooting and just being basically super annoying. Especially when your abilities get to tier 3, they're going to be on incredibly short cooldowns, which is really nice. Now, the last thing of importance in my kit is how I spend my skill points on each tree. We outlined the 3 key abilities, and now we need to talk about the passives, spice passives, and techniques I use. Also, I want to mention in Dune Awakening, you can get a total of 200 skill points to spend, which requires max level 200. So it's going to be a long grind. You're not going to have 200 skill points within the first week. It might take you 2 weeks. Overall, I use a lot of passives and mixed from all the classes that focus on self-sustain, melee, and range damage, with some poison buffs for my spit dart. For my 3 equipped techniques, which are effectively passives that you can only have 3 equipped of, represented with the blue dots on all the trees you're seeing in front of you. I buff my range damage while using suspensor belts, health and stamina self-sustain, and on the Swordmaster tree, my last technique is headshot bonus damage, which is incredibly important. So that's on the Mentat tree, not the Swordmaster tree. I misread that though. And all the red dots represent skills or passives that we had to pick up to get to the passives I did want. So it's sort of just a way you have to go about navigating the trees, is you have to spend some abilities or some skill points on stuff that you might not actually end up using, just so you can get to things that you do want. Again, all of the yellow dots represent the passives I use. The green dots represent the 3 abilities I have in my rotation, as outlined previously. And this pretty much concludes my entire combat kit. The main thing that will change frequently, and as you might have noticed by now, is that there are no uniques equipped. The main thing is I don't really know what the tier 6 uniques are, and that's something we're going to be figuring out jumping into the game when it goes live and exploring. When we hit Deep Desert, when we actually start getting tier 5 and tier 6 uniques. Up until then, it's just going to be, pretty, I guess, a solidified experience in terms of my kit. But yeah, I mean, I am looking forward to Dune Awakening a lot. I'm going to be live streaming it over on twitch.tv. If you have any more questions, especially about the builds, then I'm more than happy to answer them. But yeah, I think for now I'm going to wrap up the video here. There's also a couple more things I did want to quickly mention, is that I don't recommend bothering with tier 1 to 4 uniques, other than the Hajara Leader John we mentioned previously, is they become obsolete very quickly when stacked up against tier 5 and tier 6 common gear. So keep that in mind. Tier 1 to 4 uniques, you might want to collect them, but actual use cases, they're pretty mid. So yeah, that's where I want to wrap up the video. And yeah, if you want to check out where all the trainer locations are, that video is also live on my channel, so be sure to check that out as well.